Welcome back to the Inappropriate Growth Podcast. Today, we're diving into the world of health and wellness entrepreneurship with a true industry titan. Joining us is Steve Kopshaw, a seasoned entrepreneur who has built and scaled multiple successful businesses in the fitness and health space, from owning and operating 17 gyms to leading a digital media powerhouse. Steve's journey is nothing short of inspiring. He's also the mastermind behind the Freedom Framework, a game changer for countless health and wellness entrepreneurs. Get ready to be inspired as we uncover the secrets to his success and learn how you can apply them to your own business. I'm happy to welcome Steve to the show. Let's get inappropriate. Welcome to the Inappropriate Growth Podcast. I'm Paul Angelle, your host, and I'm very excited to have Mr. Steve. I want to make sure I'm saying it right. Kopshaw?
Kopshaw, you nailed it.
Well, it's like it's spelled. This is season 4, episode 5. And things are humming along so that I don't have to do it or I don't mess it up. Steve, can you tell us, what do you do? Where are you? And how did you get there?
Yeah, the easiest answer, where am I? So I live in New Jersey, got here by being born here, spent a couple of years out in Oregon when my parents divorced, but otherwise born and raised here, and looking forward to moving out of here in the next couple of years once my daughter graduates high school. So definitely don't plan to be here forever, but in northern New Jersey, not far out of Manhattan, New York City. So kind of East Coast for life so far. What do I do? So I'm a business coach and I effectively help people unlock their version of freedom using their business ultimately as a means to an end. A lot of people open a business because it's some type of passion of theirs, or they found something that they really enjoy doing, and that's why they became an entrepreneur in the first place. They don't necessarily reverse engineer what freedom looks like and then go into business to help unlock that. And a lot of times people become kind of an employee of their business or a slave to their business. They're not happy. They're not where they want to be. And it's not necessarily their fault because we were never taught those things. There's not people talking about it because it's way sexier to say get 10 clients in 10 days and make $10 million. Everybody's going to click on that ad. But when I'm here going, hey, we can appropriately grow and scale your business so it achieves the goal that you need it to achieve. Usually you have to slam into that brick wall a little bit before you're like, hey, Steve, I want and need your help. So that's what I spend my days doing right now.
I've read your bio. You've had an incredible journey from personal training to a leading figure in the health and wellness industry. What do you think sparked your initial interest in entrepreneurship and the fitness world?
So fitness world was really a byproduct of me needing a job. Frankly, I went to college for engineering and didn't love it. Now, if I could correlate my engineering to being able to kind of build a self-driving car, maybe I still would have been doing it. But we know the education system, like anything, has some of its flaws in there. And I couldn't correlate those dots, and it wasn't something that I was excited to go do. At the time, I was a volunteer firefighter, and I knew I could get paid pretty well and have a pretty good schedule by becoming a paid firefighter. And it was something I enjoyed doing. So I actually left college after 2 years to pursue a career in paid firefighting. Well, I gave up my scholarships, all the pieces of school that were going on, and dad wasn't going to pay my bills anymore. So I needed to get a job. And ultimately, I'm training for this exam. I needed to be mentally, but also physically in shape for it. So I needed to get a gym membership. And I was like, hey, maybe I can work at the gym so I can get a free gym membership. And it's kind of like I'm two birds, one stoning this thing and getting a better deal out of it. And started working front desk, and I was making like $6 an hour. But the trainers were making $18 an hour. I was like, you know what? I need to go do that so I can make more money. And studied, learned, got my intro to NASMs or whatever, NASM certification, whatever it was at the time. I don't recall anymore. And started doing personal training, making $18 an hour. And I ended up accidentally completely falling in love with the fitness world through that. I quickly became a manager of a club, and the journey was fun. I learned a lot, but eventually I went down this road of I was managing the cleaning schedule and the budget more than I was dealing with fitness and the thing I had fallen in love with. So I left that gym, went to work for a small personal training studio, and again fell in love, but I didn't love the ownership there. They were busy making hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I was the sales manager, so I knew literally what it was. And they were not investing in the clients, in the reasons that I loved fitness. And my father, I grew up, had always owned his own business. And it was that whole like, hey, if you think you can do better yourself, then put your money where your mouth is. So in 2009, I figured it was a really good time to go open a fitness business in northern New Jersey. And I did just that. And that was my first step into entrepreneurship, was really, I think I can do it better than somebody else, and I'm going to go do it. So those are kind of the two big catalysts that got the career started, if you will.
I know that you had at one time 17 gym locations.
So I had 17 total locations. 3 were massage studios, and then 14 were gyms or fitness, personal training and large group training. Mixture of those. At my peak in around 2016, 2017 was when I got there. But it was it was a journey, I'll say, to get to that point. The first one was easy. Sadly, in 2009, one of the worst economies that anybody who is a grown adult that understands anything over the age of 18, 20, and could understand that world, it wasn't a great economy, but I had this massive belief that if I could create success for my clients, they would continue to pay. And Bergen County, New Jersey, Housewives of New Jersey and the next town over type shows, like, people have money, not a problem. They're not completely broke, but the reality is people were still nervous. And first business crushed, crushed. Like, we were doing over $400 per square foot a year in revenue, and everything was phenomenal. And I thought I could go from, well, hey, if I'm doing really good in one, then if I go to two, then I'm going to double my really good. And it didn't go that way on any level. It went completely the opposite way. The first month that I owned both of those businesses, I had done over $100,000 in 1 month of revenue. The second month and every other month for the next 18 months, I was barely able to scrape by at like $35 to $40,000 total between both of those businesses. And that was less than the peak of just my one business and what I was able to do there. And it was rough. There was a lot of ego things that just came in. And I mean, in my first year and a half, Monday to Friday, I worked from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. I'd sleep on the fake pleather IKEA couch in the office every night because it was better than driving 10 minutes home and back because I got an extra 15 minutes of sleep. And I would go out and see friends on Friday and Saturday nights, but I lived and breathed making my business work. And when it wasn't working, and then there was 45 minutes of a drive and a bridge over the Hudson River between the two of them, it sucked. Like, it was bad. I remember those days. And I just kept thinking, if I can get to the third one and the fourth one, everything will be good because I'll add more revenue. And there's the songs of like more money, more problems, and whatnot. It's like more businesses, more problems was my theme song. And for the first 5 years, I was only able to get to 4 businesses, but I remember having to be on the state aid to get health insurance because of how poor the profitability of the businesses were. And I look back and I judged my success on how many businesses I had, not the profitability of my businesses. And I remember a conversation with my mentor at the time. His name's Kevin. And he asked me, he's like, why do you think things aren't going well? And I had an hours of a call worth of reasons, and this thing and the marketing thing and the employee thing and the clients thing and all the things, pointing my fingers all the time. And he's like, well, hey, Steve, who's like the only one that can control these things? I'm like, well, nobody can control it. Like, it's completely out of my control. And we ended the call and he was like, Steve, I need you to think for the next week, but you are the reason that this is all going on. And I'm like, there's no way. I'm a younger, naive, like 20 something year old, not my fault. I'm doing everything right. Like I crushed it on the first one. I should be crushing it, but it's because I'm in this demographic and those people and one of those things. And for every reason except for it was me was the reason why. Well, I really thought about it for the week. Let me listen to some books and, things like extreme ownership and stuff like that. And as I continued, I showed up that next week on that call and I was like, all right, Kevin, it's my fault, but I'm saying that because I don't really understand why. I just know I need to accept it. And he's like, well, that's kind of the first step. That's good. It's like, but now we need to figure out the why so you know what to change. And I'm like, well, I don't really know. And we started to dig in, and immediately I came back to it's everything else's fault. It's not my fault. So it took me a good month to really grapple with that idea that I was the reason that I was in this spot that I wasn't happy. A couple of things came out of that. Biggest thing is I grew up poor. I grew up in a double wide trailer. Mother, alcoholic, drug addict. Had food stamps. Like I remember going to the store and I couldn't buy something as a 7, 8 year old because you weren't allowed to buy that with food stamps. And one of my big motivators in the beginning of opening a business was I never wanted to be poor. Well, I wasn't poor. I was making like 30 grand a year and I had businesses, and everybody from the outside in looked at me as like, oh, he's not poor and all the things. But this weird thing happened where I started to understand I was working away from something. If I say to you, hey, I never want you to get to this point on the map, right? Let's say New Jersey. I never want you to go to New Jersey and you're in New York. There's a lot of things you could do to never go to New Jersey: driving in a car, walking, riding a bike, getting on an airplane, whatever it is. there, there's people who've never left an island. That's 100% sure. But you're spending the same amount of energy. If you're driving 8 hours a day, factually speaking, you're driving 8 hours a day. But if I said to you, hey, I want you to get to Florida, well, you're going to drive 8 hours a day and you're going to get to Florida in 2 days. Two completely different scenarios. One is never go here and the other one is go somewhere. And I was living my life in a realm of I never want to go somewhere. Well, when I shift my perspective, it's like never being poor is one thing, but finding my freedom, which encapsulates never being poor, is another thing. So I needed to start to work on the skill sets and creating a life that was going to unlock what I needed and what I wanted to work towards rather than continue to run away from something. And that was one of the biggest first takeaways that I truly really felt, and it's kind of lodged in my brain from those conversations. The second biggest one was I needed to become a better leader. And the reason ultimately these other businesses weren't doing well is because in the first one, I did everything. When I had two, three, and four, I now had to lead other people to do everything. And I was a really bad leader, like really bad. I said some really dumb things as a leader, like, oh, I don't need to say thank you for working. Your paycheck is your thanks. Clearly, that's not the best way to go out and lead and rally a team behind you. But I started to work on those skills and I grew from 4 businesses in those first 5 years to 17 in the next four. And it was like wildfire growing through that. And now all of a sudden, when things came my way, it started to go from that's a problem, oh no, to cool, I can figure out a solution. So another big point in my career through this journey and what's gotten me to where I'm at today and kind of that first step towards consulting was in 2016, 2017, the election, the Cambridge Analytica scandal happened, and all the Facebook data on the back end became a big problem. Overnight, with all of my businesses, and at the time I think it was 16, my marketing agencies literally shut down. Sent me an email the next morning, hey, we're no longer doing marketing, we're out of business, et cetera, et cetera. You'll no longer be charged. I was like, what do I do? Like, I don't know what to do now. Like, I'm not a marketer. I'm a personal trainer. I'm a business owner. I'm not a marketer. Well, I had like 60 days to figure out how to become a marketer. Otherwise, I was going to have like 60 employees that I wasn't going to have be able to pay anymore. And I couldn't be in all 16 places at once. I couldn't do all the things. So the businesses at some point in time were going to suffer, or I needed to solve the problem. So I sat down and I tried as hard as I could to learn marketing. Not only did I learn marketing, not only did I figure out how to do Facebook ads, build landing pages and direct response marketing, I was able to then continue to grow my businesses. Behind me, one of my proud things, you'll see my 2 Comma Club award from ClickFunnels for doing $1 million on a sales funnel online. And I started to have people saying, "Hey, can you help me with my marketing?" I was like, "Of course, I'd love to." So that was really that like step into, I learned a new skill that was at the time for my businesses and for my team, but now it opened up this next door that in the moment I didn't realize what I was doing, but I started helping people out of necessity. I had to, or else. I had to, or else. I'd be going back to New York sports clubs to train for $18 an hour. So it turned into probably about 6 months of helping different franchisees in the company that I was a part of. The CEO of Elements Massage reached out. I was like, "Hey, I bet you can't open a new location better than we can. And by better, have more members at the end of the first month." And I was like, "Well, I'm an egotistical 20 something year old, so I'll take that bet. What do I get on the other side?" It's like, "Well, if you win, we'll reimburse you every expense that you paid. You get a custom bottle of scotch," which who doesn't like a good bottle of scotch that's engraved? And in front of everybody at our national conference, nearly 500 franchise locations, I'll walk up there and say, "You beat me." Now, the only thing I cared about was the in front of everybody saying that I won. That was the thing I wanted most. So I went out and I was going to beat him. So did a bunch of new things, deployed my tactics, went in with the what I wanted to do, and on opening day, I generated 185 credit processed credit cards that day. They opened 63 credit cards after 30 days of business. So not only did I win, but I smashed them. Smashed the franchise record and nearly 3x what his output was. So I got all those things and I got that big ego pat on the back, and that was pretty cool. But the big change, this is really where consulting started for me, was this woman came up to me and she goes, "Steve, you don't even know what you did for me. I'm no longer afraid to put my house, my life savings, and everything on the line because now the numbers work in this business." And that's not verbatim, but basically what she said. And there was this like, somebody says something to you and you get goosebumps and you just feel it at your core. And that feeling was better than the feeling of everybody in that room knowing that I beat the CEO and the franchise. And I was like, wow, that type of impact is the impact I want to be able to make. And kind of the rest is history. And I started selling off my businesses and moving in the realm of wanting to help business owners to grow their dreams and achieve their dreams with their business, but again, ultimately unlock their freedom that they desire.
What I love is that with a little bit of prompting, you answered my next two questions. That's awesome.
Perfect.
Perfect. You've led teams and businesses across different states. What are some of the key leadership principles that have guided you through this journey?
For me, leadership is a culmination of a couple of things, right? There's a couple of big keywords that truly matter. And I would say it's all rooted in communication. But before I kind of get to that communication piece of it, it's about being able to really relay the vision that other people can latch onto and they can be a part of. It's about collaboration and allowing people to be a part of this mission and feel like they're contributing to the success, the progress, that movement. But it also is kind of that clarity and inspiration that people need as well, because there's a lot of times that visionaries and leaders, they have all they do that hand thing in the air and they paint these big vast pictures that sound really fun and they rally you, but when you walk away an hour or a day later, you're kind of like, "Wait, what?" Like, he just used keywords, it wasn't very clear to me, and people start to kind of falter because of that. So that kind of leads into the idea of inspiring people, making sure that they can continue to work without having to kind of stand behind them with the stick, so to speak. And you're going to lean on that accountability side of leadership as well, which is a function of communication. So for me, it's rooted in communication, but those are some of the words that jump out quickly as stacking on top. But leadership is truly about painting that mission and helping everybody get there. For me, as a leader of somebody, my job is to leave you better than I found you. And something that's very weird for people is the best leaders in the world pour into their team so much so that at some point in time, that team member outgrows the business and goes somewhere else that's bigger. And every business owner is like, I can't lose a teammate. I can't lose this person. They're so integral to the business. And they are. They are. But if you did a good job, you'd have that secondary, that tertiary person that can help. If that person implicitly trusts you and they are part of the team, they're not going to leave you high and dry. Team members leave without notice because they don't like you. People who love you and do a great job but have started to find a better opportunity will communicate with you. And if you can pour into them so much, how much better is your business going to be? Like, think about Jeff Bezos number 2 when he was starting something, or, Google or Tesla or any of the big companies that we know today. If that person was in your business and was good enough to be number 2 in Tesla, Google, Apple, Amazon, all these companies that we know, Walmart, Starbucks, whatever, your business would be to the stars. But we're so afraid to pour into people and to grow them so much that they leave, that we don't do it. And then the business and our mission and our vision fail. So you need to grow people and turn leaders into other leaders. I don't mean literally speaking the fact that, like, hey, some people aren't meant to lead. Some people don't want that responsibility, and that's not a bad thing. It's just factually speaking. But it doesn't mean you can't turn them or help them lead the things that they want to lead in life within the company and help serve whatever it is that they care about. And if somebody's like, hey, I'm here 40 hours a week, 50, 60, 30, whatever it is, simply because you pay me well and I want to do a good job, that's okay. Like, they don't need to be fully bought into all the pieces. They need to show up and do the job that your business needs them to do. So communication is really the root of what all of this looks like, and making sure people understand, I'm here to help you. I'm here to grow you and I want to participate in that. Along the way, I need you to help grow this thing, and we're going to have accountability, we're going to have collaboration, we're going to share vision, we're going to make sure it's super clear. I want to inspire you, I want you to inspire me, and be able to push through all these pieces to help us get to where we want to. So I would say, really long kind of circular answer back to here. Leadership truly at its core is about communication in a lot of different facets, and making sure that people understand how they can contribute and what that contribution looks like.
Freedom framework and how it's transformed the way health and wellness businesses operate. Talk about that.
Yeah, so we obviously touched on the idea of freedom, a little bit, and ultimately it's what does your version of freedom look like? And to me, freedom is some version of the opportunity to do what I want, when I want, how I want to do it, without somebody telling me otherwise. The measurable way of this is a financial measurement kind of barometer. It's not necessarily about the money, but the money opens up opportunity for certain things to happen. And we have to break through this first mindset. A lot of people are like, oh, I can't ask for that kind of money. I can't deserve those things. And once we establish what it is, most everybody has this, oh, it's way lower than I thought it needed to be, or it's way higher than I thought it needed to be. And I share that because you're probably out of touch with what your actual number is to accomplish the things you want to in life, either on the high or the low end. So I would encourage everybody to figure out, what is your version of freedom, and be specific. Maybe it's houses, cars, vacations, bank accounts, investments, businesses, whatever. Maybe it's time with kids, grandkids, family, friends, and experiences, and exploring the world and stuff like that. Whatever the thing is, go figure that out, and figure out how much money it takes to be able to do that thing. You're not chasing the money for the money, you're chasing the money so you can do those things. But when we think about the actual framework, well, hey, as a business owner, as a leader in a business, even, or as somebody who's trying to solve just things for me, what's my formula? What's my framework? What's my thing I need to use to figure out what is the most important thing for me? Because that's something that was never taught, at least to me, through school or experiences or my mentors, where, hey, here's a logic driven formula that helps you solve your biggest problem. So freedom framework is the 7-step formula to do that. In a quickly, and I'll dive in a little bit deeper so you have context, but the 7 steps are: filter, figure out what it is you need to be focusing on. We need to make sure we know we're working on the right thing. The R is relate. Once we know what we're working on, once we've done our filtering process, we're going to relate it to a person, myself, a system, or some way to make sure it's going to get done. Because how often do we go, yeah, I'm going to work on this thing and we just don't do it? The first E is going to be empower and educate, our two E's there. And we think about it in the sense of you need to empower yourself to lose or mess up and or empower a teammate to actually go do the thing. But we also have to educate ourselves, our team, about the outcomes, the ways we can get there, whatever the case might be. And we don't spend enough time doing it, or we spend too much time educating. And we have those people that just incessantly learn. D is define. We have to define what success looks like. This isn't so you can turn around and go, hey, I failed, I didn't hit success, but rather have an appropriate debrief meeting. In the fire department after a fire or some big event, we would go back the next day to the firehouse and debrief on all the things. What went well, what didn't go well? Not a you messed up or I messed up, but rather how do we improve for next time? The O is optimize. So without adding more resources to my business, can I increase the output of this problem I'm solving? Too many times as a business owner go, I'm just going to hire somebody to go ahead and do this thing. Well, does it make sense to spend more money and spend time on this person and all these things for your business to create a certain outcome? And then M is maximize, which is if I were to add more resources, so hire somebody, pay for a new software, whatever it is, would it produce the ROI that makes sense? So that is kind of the quick and dirty. The couple of pieces of depth I'll give you. So going back to that F, the filter, in business, in life, we have, generally speaking, three big KPIs. Leadership and business, kind of the focal point here. But in your business, we think about our profit per acquisition. Or in other words, every time I acquire a client, what's the profit that the business generates on the back end? We get that by taking the lifetime value minus the cost to fulfill on our promise we made to them, minus the cost to acquire them, equals whatever our profit's going to be. What we do and what I get to do with somebody is say, hey, which one of these three numbers, not your big KPI sheet with 40 things on it that kind of causes confusion, so you get emotional and go, well, I'll just go back to generating leads and more sales. Which of those three can we fix the most, influence the most, or some version thereof? You give me an answer. Let's say that number is, hey, my lifetime value isn't as high as it should be. All right, great. Let's get rid of the other numbers and let's ask a really important question. That question is, what numbers go into the number I'm currently looking at? So lifetime value, how long people stay times how much they pay you per month. Those are the two numbers, simple and easy. Forget the big lifetime value number now. We have two numbers. Which one has the most opportunity, is the most broken, the one we should focus on? How long they stay. Okay. What numbers go into how long they stay? Well, what I sold them in the beginning, what our renewal, retention, attrition rates are, depending upon how your business looks at it, et cetera, et cetera. And we repeat that process until there's no longer an answer to what numbers go into the number that we're currently looking at. And that now becomes the number that we have to actually focus on. Far too often do we get emotional about the thing we need to go do and then not actually do it because it's like, oh, well, I might need to increase my lifetime value, but I'll just go get more leads and more sales. And that's why marketing, businesses, business owners, a majority of you see more leads, more sales for marketing because it's the sexy thing. But what if you could do better service delivery and increase your retention and by 50%? And all of a sudden, instead of needing 20 new clients a month, you only needed like 10 new clients a month. And you reduced your strain on your marketing. So that way you could actually focus on all these other pieces and you actually like enjoyed life a little bit more. That's crazy. So we put a formula behind what do I need to do? That next thing is that educate side of things. So that third E there, or the first E, the third step. And we talk around how do we go about educating ourselves? What are the things we need to educate ourselves on? Well, what are the potential outcomes we're chasing? What are the potential ways that I can solve the problem? Figure those things out. Find all the solutions, find all the outcomes you can create and start to understand, hey, to do this, we have to integrate these 17 things. But to do this, we only have to do one thing. maybe that's the better way, but at least have that conversation around it to make sure we're thinking through it. The next one I'll kind of highlight is that define. If you're trying to increase your lifetime value or how much people are spending with you by 10%, and that's the bar that you set, and let's say you do all this work and you only increased it by 6%. I mean, hey, we increased it, that's good. But why did you think 10%? Did you not educate well? Did you not understand the problem you were trying to solve? Was it harder to solve than we expected? Is the team not capable of solving problems like this and it all falls on your shoulders? It just allows us to ask good questions to ourselves. And then the last one, a little bit deeper, the O and the M. So optimize and maximize. I kind of highlighted the fact I'll just hire somebody brand new. That might be the right answer. But when I'm coaching a business, I'm always going to say if you're going to spend $1 on them, they need to be able to spend or return $4 back to the business. In other words, your ROI needs to be 4x whatever their salary is. In other words, if you're spending or giving somebody $100,000 a year, they need to generate or increase your business top line by $400,000. The reason is we need to pay them. So there's the one time. The second time is there's an opportunity cost because you're training them, you're spending time, you're focusing your attention. Now there's systems, there's overhead, there's overages, there's kind of employee, call it extras that go along, health insurance, days off, all of that stuff that's just going to cost more money than their base salary anyways. And then at the very end of that, you want to make some profit above and beyond that. So that's how we get kind of the 4-to-1 ratio. There's certain positions that might change that a little bit, et cetera. But general rule of thumb, if you're hiring somebody, putting a new software in, spending time doing something, how do we get a 4-to-1 return on there? And that means, yes, we should pull the trigger. If we're not, it means we shouldn't pull the trigger and we should continue focusing on the core business that we have without trying to expand other things that are going on.
Your role in Mindpump is impressive. How was your previous experience prepared you for this position, and what are your goals for the company?
So for Mindpump, it's actually launching the new revenue operations for personal trainers and going down the road of and ultimately expanding the business on that side of things. Uh, so understanding health, wellness, fitness to a high level from a service delivery standpoint is obviously a must, being able to walk the walk with that group of people. But taking businesses and, online education, companies I've experienced, my own business, and just really building out the principles, the strategies, the tactics on what that looks like for those businesses and how that's going to help them. And then kind of to your point, the mindset of making sure people are learning, are understanding, and they're actually taking the action. Because the biggest issue in our world isn't that people don't have enough information. The biggest issue is they're not taking the action they need to take on the information that they have. Most people know what they need to do, but they don't believe that it's the right thing, so they just do nothing. The work isn't fun. Like, I'm not sitting here saying the things are easy, but the reality is that the actual process and systems, you can find it anywhere, know what's going on, and it's not that hard. And that's where people just get stuck. So for me, like the biggest thing is just getting people to believe in the system enough that they'll actually take the action and having those conversations appropriately as we scale, or really I'd say build and grow this business out of kind of a launch mode earlier this year to now a sustainable model that just continues to run.
What's the most important piece of advice you would give to any aspiring entrepreneur in the health and wellness space today?
Your success is going to directly be dependent upon your ability to take action, to be a leader of yourself and other people. Just because we use the word leader doesn't mean you have to lead a team. You need to lead yourself. Leaders who show up confident are going to attract those potential clients. Leaders are going to be able to get them to take the action they need. And you need to lead yourself to take the actions you need. So I would say, honestly, like, control your life in such a way that you can do the things that you have to do and stop making the excuses, because that's what a majority of your reasons are that you're not getting it done in the most loving way possible.
All right. Well, if any of our listeners anybody's watching or listening, they want to get in touch with you, what is the best way for them to do that?
Best two ways are going to be social media on Instagram and or Facebook, and just search my name, full name. So Stephen with a PHEN Kopshaw with a Kopshaw. Find me there. Again, Instagram and Facebook are going to be best two bets. I tend to kind of give more value on Instagram, and I try to stir the pot a little bit and engage in some conversations on Facebook. So if you want to go and engage in a potential conversation where I disagree with you, come visit me on Facebook and let's have some fun.
This has been great. Tons of information. You were very well prepared. I want to tell our listeners, I want to tell you, Steve, if you're going to grow, you probably already know this, chances are strong you're going to have to do something inappropriate.
Without a doubt. Love it.